Buddy, to Legends of the Shattering, Chapter 1, Episode 3. We're just going to real quick do an introduction, and then we will jump right into our campaign. We'll start with this guy. Am I going the wrong way?
No, you're going the right way. I simply was not ready. Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm playing Evo, our Ranger Rogue. You can find me at Clay_Beard on TikTok. Add one more underscore in studio, and you can find me on Instagram.
He makes mugs. Next guy.
Hello, I'm Oz. I'll be playing Nimbus Grimulkin, a Tabaxi Barbarian. And you can find me on TikTok and Instagram as Ghost of Mr. Hyde.
He does not make mugs.
No, unfortunately.
We're going to go right under Ivo here.
Oh, that's me, right?
Yes, you are under Ivo.
Hi, I'm Pixie. You can find me at itsybitsypixie on both TikTok and Instagram. And I'll say it here just so that my friends have heard it at least once, but I should be filming new content very, very soon, as in next week soon.
Yes.
So I should be able to get new content out for everybody by end of June. We'll see. See if these guys hold me to that. But yeah, I am playing Xandra, our vampire warlock.
And last but not least.
Hey guys, I'm Dia. You can find me on diavel.cause on most social media, but I'm most active on TikTok. I'll be playing Kore, who's a butterfly Asama bird.
And with that, we shall go to our wonderful intro that our backstage director, Michael St. Gregory, made for us. Phenomenal work every single time. So, yeah.
Woo!
I love that intro so much.
So good.
I also just want to put out there, Chris is playing a little air guitar in the background, and it's pretty great.
Sorry, giving away my secrets. Stop it.
Sorry, Chris. I told you half of the backstage stuff is the most fun to watch. So we left off on some pretty serious cliffhangers to the point we did a session a week early. So the last thing that our party was put up against was they actually finally found the shadow dragon Jargentarth that they were looking for and started moving towards their joint goals, but with some serious revelations that one of our party members that couldn't make it today found out about themselves and their characters. Put a little bit of a bump in the road for our party. And they ended up going after one of our fellow party members, Xandra. And we left off with Xandra teleporting into nothingness. Orez and the group kind of just lingering after a conversation with Jargentarth that didn't really go too well. A dragon got yelled at by a little red panda, but it's fine. It's fine. So we're gonna pick off right after that moment when Xandra blipped out of existence and Orez kind of stormed off, and everybody kind of went their own ways to relax in the sanctuary that Jargentarth has provided for you. And with that, we are going to go straight to you, my good sir.
Oh.
What is Nimbus doing in the moments after the outburst of Orez, the storming off of Xandra?
I do believe Nimbus would be trying to see if he could comfort Orez, and seeing as how they went off by themselves, we'll investigate the smithy in the forge area to see what tools are there and what he can craft.
So as you kind of walk into this forge, I'll kind of reiterate for new viewers if you're here. So they walked into this castle, and there was this massive hall. There was this dining table, very thick, dark oak, with golden stairs going up almost in a spiraling pattern behind the table. And it had almost like a tornado of floating books around it. There was a couple doors going down this cathedral, and on the left, the first door was a forge, which Nimbus is now looking towards. Nimbus, what are you looking for specifically while you're in here?
Any small tools that can like make trinkets or like a puzzle box, something that could give Orez like a fun distraction, I guess.
Go ahead and give me an investigation check with advantage.
Bear with me, I didn't actually open my app.
Oh, no, you're fine. Because if I remember correctly, your passive kind of sucked just a little bit.
Oh yes, most definitely.
I think it's Ivo and Orez with the passive crazy perception.
Like 30, yeah. Said you want me to do a perception check?
Investigation.
Investigation check.
With advantage due to the nature of the check.
Okay. Advantage. That is a 13.
13. Okay, so as you're kind of looking around and you're kind of digging, and you remember Jargon kind of giving you free reign of anything that you find, you would find a set of smithy tools. And looking at those, you would remember being taught how to use them briefly when the dwarves came to visit your elven settlement when you lived there. And if I remember correctly, you asked them to teach you. And as you're kind of like looking around, you'll find beads here and there. You'll find a bunch of different kinds of metals. And as you're kind of like digging through these materials and stuff, you would find a rare ore called Zalium. And you would know it's kind of like a dark red, black ore, and like in the veins it glows lightly with like a bright red. And you would know that this is the only ore that you actually have to freeze to liquefy. So to get this in a liquid state, you would have to get it below 0 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. Well, it's kind of hard, seeing as how I don't have a freezing apparatus. Are there any, I don't know, magic orbs or anything that could cause like an ice freeze kind of thing?
As you look around, you can almost see, you saw the dwarves at work. And you remember Jargon talking about some dwarves that used to live here prior to you guys coming. And as you're kind of looking around, you can tell that this forge was made from dwarven craftsmanship. You can see how big the forge is and how every piece has a purpose, how every nook and cranny is either to hold something or to be used for something. And next to this forge, you would actually find almost like a small smelter, but it's cold to the touch. It would look like a forge, but it has no flames.
Now that is a sight that Nimbus has not seen in a while. I would like to try and see if I could start it up, turn it on.
Roll me another investigation check.
Investigation. 15.
15. So as you're kind of looking and you're watching it, you see almost like this handle on the one side, almost like a lever. And as you grab it and you kind of pull it down, you just feel this puff of cold air come out. And you can feel the temperature of the entire room start to plummet. And you can tell that the only thing that's keeping it relatively warm is the forge next to you that has not stopped running.
Now, while Nimbus is not a very avid reader, are there any like diagrams around this forge for, I don't know, intricate puzzle boxes, or I don't know, like some kind of weapon for a small being?
So as you're kind of looking around, you're talking about like one of those things that they pour the metal into, the molds. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you're kind of looking around, you can see different molds. There's like a stack of them. And as you're kind of, you can't read it unless you can read Dwarvish. Can you read Dwarvish?
No.
Okay. So you just see a whole bunch of like different symbols and stuff all down this one wall, but you can tell that it's drawers. And as you start like pulling out these drawers, you pull one out and it's a sword. You pull another one out and it's short sword, dagger. It's like in order: long sword, short sword, dagger, different hatchet blades, different axes, different, basically any weapon you can think of, it's there. And you're just like kind of pulling through all of them. Bracelet molds, stuff like that.
Let's see. Is there any molds for like a dagger or like a magical dagger, if possible?
A magical dagger, if possible. Not that you're finding. You can see there is a mold for a dagger, but it's just a normal one. It looks like the blade kind of comes out and it almost looks like two halves of the blade, but it's not connected in the middle. It has kind of like 2 points. But you can tell that it's a sturdy mold.
Okay. I would like to see if I could forge with this mold. See if I can make something.
What is the process you're doing? Go ahead and give us a little visualization if anybody would be watching Nimbus attempt to forge.
As he hasn't really made anything with a cold forge before, it's probably going to take several tries before he can even figure out how to melt this thing down. And he'll gently, each process is slow, meticulous, and he'll gently pour the liquefied ore into each mold and see if he can at least come up with at least 3 or 4 different types of daggers, and see how he can do from there.
Go ahead and give me, we're going to say, a sleight of hand check. Give me 4 of them.
Okay. 4?
1 per mold.
6? 15. 8.
So you said, what was the first one? You said 4, 6, 15, 8?
Correct.
Cool. I'm actually going to check my Discord because I think it might be me, but I'm not 100% sure. So bear with me for just a moment. I'm just going to turn all of these off. All the notifications. Cool. We'll see if that works. So as you're kind of putting all of the ore into the cold forge and you pull it out and you pour it into these molds and you close them and you kind of let them sit, and it's almost like you put them next to the forge next to it to heat them back up. And as you're kind of doing that, you open the first one and you pull it out, and it's hard, you can tell it is, and you kind of just tap it on the side of the forge, just like a think think think, and the tip just breaks off.
Well, that's not going to do anybody any good in a fight.
You kind of pull over the second one, you open it, and kind of like the first one, you hit it once, and it kind of holds up, and you turn, and you can see that there's a training dummy on the other side of the room, and you throw it, and as soon as it impacts it, you see that it goes through, but you only see the tip go out the other side.
Closer.
The next one, you kind of pick up and you open up the mold, and it looks solid. But as you pull it out, your finger kind of hits the side where the blade is, and for some reason, it's so unnaturally sharp, kind of slices your thumb a little bit and makes you stumble. And as you do, the blade falls into the fire forge.
Well, this is going very well. Is there anyone nearby that is actually watching this happen?
As you're kind of glancing around, there's nobody watching you.
Well, the embarrassment is low. Let's see. So none of them succeeded in being an actual knight.
Roll me a perception check real quick, because you didn't open the fourth one yet. But
Perception. That's a 6.
what's your passive? That's the next question I'll ask.
What is my passive? 13.
That's fine.
It's not good at all.
That'll do.
It's
So
not
as you dropped the blade into the fire forge, it didn't go completely in, and you can see the handle kind of sticking out a little bit, but you could see it glowing just a very bright orange-ish red color. As you're looking at it, it almost looks like when metal is that cherry red, but it almost looks like obsidian, and right where it's sharp is the glowing part. And you would see some tongs hanging up next to the fire forge.
Well, I'm gonna attempt to see if I can snatch it from the fire.
I won't make you roll for that. Go ahead and use the tongs and get it out.
Okay, all right. So I should grab it.
All your fur burns off.
Hopefully that will go back. And I'll inspect it and see if it's still solid, still able to be usable.
As you kind of like tap it, and you hit the stone with it, the blade almost starts burning through the stone. And as you kind of hit it and you see the blade kind of just like butter just a little bit, you see the blade turn back to that obsidian black with red veins through the blade. And as you kind of pick it up, you see like the perfect shape of the dagger in the stone.
That's not normal. And then, after inspecting it for a while, you will proceed to sharpen it and then engrave the blade with elven runes, or basically runes that mean making sure it slices, it's sturdy, will always cut and kill the enemy, and then like at the very bottom he'll sign like his name, and then or as his name down at the very bottom, just like small elven runes.
That's cute. Inspiration.
Sweet.
Inspiration. Building a dagger for another party member who's not even hit inspiration.
Yes.
And if you want to just write down what the runes do, that way I have them for notes later as well. That would be fantabulous. Is there anything else that Nimbus wants to do in this forge? Or anywhere else?
Barring that, after the forge, I believe Nimbus would try to go and investigate the rest of the castle, try to find anything really valuable or magical.
So as you kind of wander around, you open the next door next to the forge. It's nothing special. It looks like there's maybe a couple beds in there, some chests. You can tell that it was either a barracks or just like a storage where there were some beds thrown. There's one door across the way that's locked. And then the last door is an armory. And then there you would just find some common steel weapons, a couple longbows, just simple weapons to be used for just war. So like if somebody were to attack the castle, people run out, grab those and head out, type thing. So
Okay. Is there any bow in there that's like, or a crossbow even that's Nimbus's size?
I would say so. There is a short bow, and there is a couple different crossbows. Mechanically speaking, they are just light crossbows that dwarves would use, seeing that they're not very big either. Some are strong, but they prefer the small, light crossbows. And then there would just be a normal crossbow that's a little bit bigger. It'll take a little bit more getting used to actually wield, but you could probably do it.
Any hand crossbows in there?
Yeah. So as you're kind of like going down the rows of weapons, you would see like a little box off to the side, and as you opened it, there's just lines of hand crossbows. Kind of like as a last resort type thing. Like they'll go for these weapons first, and then they'll hop down and grab those if necessary.
Okay. I will grab 2 of those.
Okay.
And I will also go back to the forge and utilize that same ore I was using before and craft bolts for both those crossbows.
I see you.
Yeah.
I see you. Cunning bastard. Let's see here. Go ahead and roll me 2 sleight of hands.
Okay, it's coming up. That is 19.
Okay.
And 17.
Okay. So both of those rolls were above 15. So you are able to pretty quickly and accurately make a couple dozen crossbow bolts. You're just going through, just taking your time, putting the ore into the forge to melt or freeze in this case, and then pull it back out, and you would put it in the molds, and you actually ended up with 62 of these crossbow bolts.
All right.
And now, are you just doing the tips, or are you doing the full bolt?
The full thing.
Full thing. Okay. So yeah, 62 full bolt. I'm just gonna reread this real quick. Of Zalium. I needed to make sure I almost said Zelkium. I was like, no, that's not it. That's not. I made this ore.
Different metal.
It's a special metal. Great.
Yes.
Glad we had this talk. So you successfully created 1 dagger out of 4 attempts and 62 crossbow bolts.
Okay. All right.
Is there anything else Nimbus would like to do at this moment?
I think after that, Nimbus will go look for Orez and see.
So you remember after the whole confrontation with Xandra, she blipped out of existence, and you saw Orez kind of storm off. But as soon as they hit the first shadow, they vanished. And you kind of know at this point, if Orez doesn't want to be found, they're not going to be found. From your time with them and your experience with them, you know that they'll show back up eventually. So,
Okay. All right. Then, I guess for the rest of the time, Nimbus is just going to go back to the forge, tinker around there for a bit, maybe fry a steak or two on the forge fire, and then just hang out. I guess the Orez is back.
cool. Brindir would be so mad.
Yeah, of course.
On that note, we are going to switch over. Who next? Hello, good sir. What is iVote doing in this current moment? A lot's kind of transpired in the last little bit for our little Puka.
He would be wandering the halls, contemplating the words that he spoke in haste and anger. And also contemplating the information that Jargen had given. Really feeling all alone in this moment. Is Kore anywhere in sight? Just wandering the halls, if there's like a stair to get a higher vantage point, or even just climbing a column just to sit in the crook of somewhere and have his thoughts.
So you're asking if Kore is anywhere near and for a spot to kind of sit and contemplate?
Yeah. Is she like in the same hall, or do I know the direction she's in?
You would have seen her kind of wander up the stairs towards the books, you would assume.
So as he's really thinking about the abandonment that his family did, regardless of their reasons, he would look off in the direction that he saw Kore go and realize that they left, but she didn't. They left, but she didn't. And then just start looking around this castle, maybe trying to find anything of value or worth that might be used against these laughing horrors. Since once daybreak comes, we'll most likely be back on their trail.
So as you're kind of looking around and you're kind of in your head, you see Nimbus go inside of this forge, and you hear him hammering away and something clutter to the ground and him grunting, and it sliced his finger, and it's like, oh, and just like all these like sound effects coming from this forge, basically just knowing that it's probably not going well for him in there. You hear something get thrown, and then a thud against the wall. You can assume that he probably messed something up and got mad and threw it. And as you're kind of like looking around and listening, you pass the forge, you pass the bed chamber storage room, and you kind of circle around the room. You go under the stairs, and you just see these books just very slow moving around your head. And you see one go, and it's just like fairies and fae goes past, and just all these different books. Children of the Wilds goes past. You see another book called Darkness Comes goes past, and you can just see all these different books, different covers, none of them same authors. You can see some have quick, neat hands that are kind of signed off on these books, or you see some where it looks like it was in haste. And as you kind of wander around more, you see the other two doors. And the first one you go to is the open one that you saw Nimbus run in and then run back out of towards the forge, and just carrying some things in his arms. And you stop at the other door that seems to be locked. And I already had you make this roll. But as you kind of walk and you stop, you hear a voice in your head. Come in, and use this extension of me, child of the wood.
How am I to enter if the door is locked?
Well, I don't know. That's for you to figure out.
Who are you? And why are you locked in there? Are you another casualty left in the wake of Jargen?
Quite the opposite, child of the trees. He saved me when the darkness was to consume me. Piece of me lies in this room, for I have not found someone worthy of my company. You have a pure soul, though you have seen darkness and refused to let it take you. Thus, I shall accompany you, or at least part of me will.
I'll try the door and see if it is still locked, and if it is still locked, I will try to pick it.
So you kind of grab the door and you kind of shake it a little bit, and you pull. And as you're kind of like looking in the lock, you can see through, like looking through the keyhole, and you see just this bland room. But on the other side, you see this table with almost like a trophy case, and you just see a tree branch stretching along it.
Is there any other like visible locks or anything I'm missing on the door to be able to open this up?
What's your passive investigation? Was it your perception that was crazy high?
17
For investigation?
for perception. Let's see. Investigation would be 14.
Okay. So as you're kind of looking and you're kind of inspecting, you can see there's a tree engraved on this door. And the door almost looks like it's solid metal. And as you're kind of looking at it, you see all the branches going out on the top. You can see leaves growing. But as you follow the trunk going down, you can see the roots go out. But one is cocked at an awkward angle.
Seemingly out of place and not in with the rest of the filigree.
Your eye for nature would pick it up almost instantly because you're
Okay.
kind of admiring the beauty of this tree and how grand it is, but it's just at that wrong angle.
Reach over and click it or try to move it to a correct position, see if it moves and wiggles at all.
As you kind of grab it and you start to try to move it a little bit, you almost kind of have to like jump just a little bit just to get that extra leverage as you hear a and it slides and you hear it grinding against metal as it pops into place and sinks back in with the other roots. And you hear a tick right where the lock should be.
And try the door and see if it opens now.
It opens.
Okay, I'll go in. Start looking around.
As you kind of walk in, like I said before, it's a very bland room. You walk in, it's just very dark. It's not like it's forgotten. It's almost like it's just keeping the light out type deal where this is a sacred place. And as you kind of walk in, there's nothing along the walls. There's no carvings. It's just plain walls. The ceiling's probably about 9 foot high, roughly. And dead center in this room is a pedestal with a tree branch laying across it. And it almost looks like there's 2 talons reaching up with black scales holding this tree branch.
Well, I'm here. Where are you?
I am in front of you. And you kind of have to like look up at this pedestal because it's like 4 foot tall.
It's right at eye level.
The extra 6 inches of the holder, the talons that are holding this branch would put it at like 4'6".
How? Who are you?
I go by many names. Some call me that tree. Some call me a guardian. Others call me wood. But my friends call me Grendir.
Grendir. He's going to turn around and kind of sit or put his back against the pedestal and just kind of sit on the floor. You seem like a wise entity, tree branch.
I told you, I'm called many things, like tree branch now.
Well, that's all that's here, so I'm talking to a stick now. I don't know what to do anymore. I was always told to let nature take its course. What do you know about jargon? What kind of creature are they? What kind of person?
He is not a person. He is a dragon.
I know that.
And though he does things differently, he means well.
I probably owe him an apology then. Spoke rather rashly. Do you have family, Grendir?
I do. They live in the woods.
So do mine.
I think I remember some of your kind jumping through my branches once or twice.
Has family ever done anything unforgivable to you?
If a tree branch could sigh, you would hear it sigh. Just in your head, you just hear a, I think every family hurts each other more than people can. Because they know you better. They know what hurts the most. But sometimes, if you look at it from their point of view, you can see just why they said or did what they did.
That's my problem right now, is I'm trying to look at it from their perspective. Trying to look at it from that angle, but any way I look at it, I would never do that. I would never just completely abandon a pup. Unless I was 100% sure that they would be better off without me. They weren't sure. They couldn't have been.
And what if they were?
I suppose that's something I'll have to find out for myself. So why are you in here, behind a locked door and away from everything?
Because when Jargen found me, darkness already took the wood. It took my trunk, my leaves, and this limb was the last thing remaining. I am solely in this branch that he found off of poachers. Because he knew if he saved this piece of me, eventually I could come back.
Seems like an awful lonely room. Do you get many people coming through? Much company?
Jargon stops every day. He's quite the conversationalist, though sometimes he rushes his words.
Suppose we have that part in common. Have you tried reaching out to anyone else walking by? That Tabaxi, Nimbus, and the Forge makes quite a racket.
He is not a child of the trees.
Oh, Grande, you're right. I have some things I need to do now that I've thought them better. Thank you.
If an old man like me can make a request,
Sure.
let me travel with you. For nature is dying, and I must help set it right.
I mean, you're up on that pedestal in a right good place. If it's all right with whoever put you there, I wouldn't want to. And he looks around. This honestly looks kind of like a cathedral.
It is quite small to me. I wish to be outside again.
Well, Grandier, like I said, if it's all right with whoever put you there, I don't want to take off with anything that's not mine, you know. But I'll do it if it's all cleared and right.
If Jargen stops you, I will speak on your behalf.
All right. Well, let's see if we can't get you down then. And he crawls up and tries to like pull the branch. How big is this branch?
It's probably about 4 foot long by roughly 6 inches thick.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try to like pull and like roll it off onto the ground, and then see if I can figure out how to either drag it or strap it to me.
As you grab it and you kind of yank, the talons release. And you're kind of pulling on it with so much force that you just like it catches you by surprise and just you go backwards with this tree branch. But as you're falling, you have a thought to yourself. This branch doesn't weigh as much as I think it should. And as you kind of hit the ground, you look in your hand and it fits in one of your paws. And as you look at it, the branch starts twisting and turning and forming around your hand. And you see from both sides of your hand, it kind of curves over, and you see a vine grow out of the tip of one of the sides and connects to the other side and solidifies. And as you're looking at it, you are now holding a bow.
Grandier, you're still there?
I am still here.
Oh, you're a lot more than just a tree.
No, I am just a tree.
Tell that to your bow. And he
Tell that to your bow.
he strings it on his back after he like looks across the like just the like what it is, and he's like just never seen anything like it before. And I'm gonna go find Nimbus, if I may.
So as you kind of wander out, we are going to switch. Corey,
Hello.
how are you?
Great.
What are you up to right now?
So before she follows the very, very tempting, tantalizing offer to peruse all the books in Jargen's library, she is going to briefly go through the door from which they entered to where all the dragon bones we noted were on the floor. And she's going to find a few of the smaller ones because she knows they can be quite useful in use of things like the augury spell that clerics use, and in some forms of divination. Alternatively, crushed into a powder, that would be a very useful magical component. So she's just going to take her pickings.
I love it. I love it. I'm just going to use these dragon bones for everything.
They're useful.
I never said they weren't. So as you kind of pluck them out, they actually come out with some pretty good ease. You just grab them and you kind of just pull each one out. You can tell that now that you're looking at it, it was actually symmetrical on the other side of where you just took them from.
Mm.
But you kind of collect a couple and put them in your pouch. I would say you probably got 12.
12
So
dragon bones. With every bone she takes, she says a quiet thank you to whoever might have been using them in the past. And then she will go to the library.
thanks to Dragon Boats. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If anybody's around, Cora, it'll just nice little thank yous as she's stealing bones.
Respect your dead, yes, quite.
So you collect those bones, and you said you were heading back in to peruse the books?
She is looking for any books Jargen might have to do with the arcane, specifically to do with the Shattering, and anything that might be to do with binding rituals, curses, which might give him a little bit more insight into what might be keeping him here.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a perception check. So you kind of wander down the corridor. You walk past the oak table with the throne that has the bones covering it. I think that was a good roll. And you kind of go up these stairs, and as you kind of go up, you can see the spiraling of the books. And you can see that there's like, it's almost like a railing going up, but there's like seats on either side, and the books are floating around it.
That was a 21 on perception.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Just a second. And as you're kind of glancing and looking through the books that are kind of spiraling around you, you see the same ones that Ivo saw, fairies and fae, and another one floats past. That's the staircase, by the way, that you just walked up.
Beautiful.
And one kind of gets your attention as it floats past, but you can't make out the words, and it starts kind of going up the staircase and starts floating around the other pillar on the right-hand side up there.
She's going after that book if it floated just out of reach before she could take it.
So kind of like as you reached it, it kind of like almost sped up a little bit, like you can't catch me, and kept going.
Cheeky. I'm going to catch that book.
So as you kind of chase after it and you catch it, you read the front, and it in bold says darkness before the shattering. And where the author's name would be, there's nothing. Do you take a seat or anything before you open it, or do you just open it?
If there is a seat nearby, she's sort of walking to it while opening the book.
There is kind of like a circle bench around that right pillar that you caught the book next to. And as you kind of open up the book, you're reading it, and it's almost like you can't understand the language at first. And as you're reading it, for some reason, the word sleep pops out to you. And you suddenly get really tired. And your eyes kind of close a little bit and you open them again, and you just get extremely tired to the point you know you can't keep your eyes open anymore. You didn't realize you were this fatigued until you sat down.
She sort of starts to lay back against the cushions, sort of holding the book up so she can continue reading it, but you see every now and then her hands like start to drop.
And one of the times your hands kind of drop, the book kind of lands on your lap and your eyes close. And when you open them again, you realize you're in the dreamscape. And kind of like every time you've ever gone to the dreamscape, it kind of starts with like darkness and a light gray mist just kind of billowing across this black field. And when you start to navigate it like you normally do, you have to focus on a place that you would like to go, and it normally takes you there. And as soon as you start to try to think where you want to go, you feel a tug. And as you kind of feel that tug, you see out of this gray mist, a black hand shoots out, grabs your leg, and yanks you.
She
And
yells as she's pulled.
And as your legs kind of come out from under you, you hit this darkness so hard that even in the dreamscape, you kind of lose the breath in your lungs and you just start getting drug. And you know this feeling to be the same as when you were drugged to this island a couple years ago and your aunt pulled you back. But there's no aunt that's pulling you back right now.
Is she able to resist the pull at all?
What would that look like for Corey as she tried to?
So for Cora, the way she was taught is if she's being pulled by darkness, she tries to imagine light in her mind and sort of project that outwards as if it could be a tangible field of force around her. And if she does it right, it can help and repel whatever might be trying to latch onto her. She may or may not do it right this time.
As you start to try to do that, you know you're doing everything right how you're supposed to and how you were taught so many times. But nothing is working. And as you kind of look up, you see the gray mist stop, and this black door almost looks like it's woven together by smoke starts to open. And it's almost like you see an abyss in this door as it opens. But right in that moment, you see just the tiniest flash of light appear right before you go through that door, and the darkness just blows out. And you see just this figure robed in all light, and you kind of see the darkness that was forming this gate. It almost looks like it's trying to get away, but it can't because it's a door. And you see the fog kind of pushing away, and you see the black ground white under where this figure's standing. But the black circling around like sharks in the ocean waiting for their prey.
Koi, as she was getting dragged, realized that her usual resistance wasn't working, had by then sort of flipped onto her stomach and tried to physically claw at whatever ground happened to be beneath her at that time, before she suddenly comes to a stop. To which she turns herself over and inspects this figure, and do they seem familiar at all? Or recognizable in any way?
As you're kind of looking, you remember your Aunt Dana talking about a figure robed in light. And you remember her telling stories about a goddess named Lux, goddess of life, light, and hope. And as you are kind of looking at this figure, and you kind of have to squint your eyes, you start to make out some features, but it's almost like it's still blurry.
Koi sort of takes a moment to shield her eyes and sort of props herself up and calls out, "Do my eyes deceive me? For I think they might. Are you the Lady of Light?"
I am many things. I am the Lady of Light, hope, and life.
Well, whoever you are, thank you for your intervention. I don't know quite what's happening there. Usually it works out. This time it did not. And this is the first time I've seen that door. Thank you.
You are quite welcome. What were you reading out there?
This tome flitting by my... Oh, it was getting away from me. It was titled Darkness Before the Shattering.
You kind of see her tilt her head just a little bit. No, I don't think that's what that was called. And she kind of waves her hand, and you see the book that was in your hands in the real world appear in the dreamscape. And she kind of looks at it and tilts her head, and she picks it up off of you just like somebody would pick up like a napkin that's been used, and kind of like spins it and looks at it, spins it and looks at the cover. No, this is all wrong. And as she says that, as she says that and she kind of spins it around, you see the dirty old tome that you had in your hand turn into this shimmering white and gold cover. As she starts flipping through, you can almost see her light fade a little bit. And as it does, you see the figure that's right under me standing before you, reading this book and kind of flipping through. This looks more like it. What were you looking for?
Anything. There was so little... Well, we were Lamdra, and she showed us her perspective, but it was difficult to know much more of what happened during the Shattering and before. We've become embroiled in all these events, and a little bit of knowledge never really hurt. And it would be useful to know, considering how much unknown has been revealed to us in recent days. If anything, the book looked curious and it tried to run away from me, therefore I had to catch it.
She's still kind of flipping through. Yes, the
What is
magic
it?
that was put on it. would have made it run from you, because it wishes to not be touched.
Ah. Oops.
And as she's kind of flipping through it, it ran from you because it knew you were good. I got rid of the spell. And you kind of see her regal composure turn into like a little bit of a frown. But I can't tell who placed it. And she flips another page and kind of closes the book and holds it in one hand. And it's almost like she crouches down, but it almost looks like she just floats down to kind of your level and puts out a hand to help you up.
Graciously accepting that hand.
She helps you up. I will speak blunt because I do not wish to give false hope. I was with your Aunt Dana. I have followed her around for many years. But she requested, seeing that my power is dwindling, that I use the rest to protect you.
Is she alright? Is she safe? Where are they now?
They still fight. They are trying to hold your home as long as they can. But I think they might have to move soon.
How long ago was this? Apologies. So much has happened, it's very easy to assume the worst, since that seems the most probable given our circumstances.
I don't know. And she kind of like looks around. It is quite difficult to get through the magic that binds this place. I fear if I ever come across the one who cast it, I would not be able to withstand.
One would think, with your dominion over light and life, the antithesis to what might have cast with darkness, you might stand a chance. Or be more resistant. Is it not the case?
She kind of deflates a little bit, gets a little bit dimmer. Well,
Apologies, I meant no offense.
no offense taken. It is hard when your power resides with those who believe in you. With the situations and the coming battles, people are starting to lose hope.
Would your brethren or yourself be inclined to help with the oncoming battles that might assist with the morale of others, rejuvenate their beliefs?
I believe it will help a bit. But I see you and your little group as the pinnacle. The deciding factor, if you will, of what will come of this world and all the others.
That is weighty responsibility. But I'd rather it is ours to bear than force it upon anyone else. How might I help you as you've so kindly aided me? What do you need, my lady?
You kind of see her float towards you a little bit, and you can see that she's standing at almost 7 feet tall right now. And she reaches down and just gently grabs your chin and pulls it up to look at her.
Tall.
The Black Maw sent me to aid you. And so I will. I owe her a debt, for she saved me before I ascended. I require nothing from you. I will simply be here, and if I can help, I will. And if I can impart some hope in you, your family is much more resilient than you think.
I would hope so. Hope.
As you kind of say hope, you see her light flicker a little bit brighter. And it almost diminishes just as much, but not as much as it was just a second ago.
Will you be all right here? Amidst all this darkness.
I am going to send you back, for it was this book that brought you here in the first place. As I said, I don't know who cast it. Its magic belongs to somebody I dare say is more powerful than myself currently. Maybe Kalma could help you with this, but even she's been quite busy. And she hands you the book back.
Take the book. Does the cover seem different now?
It
The
does.
inscriptions inside.
It looks like a bright white with almost gold embroidery on the outside. And as you're reading the tome, on the front in bold, it says, Book of Exalted Deeds.
Some light reading. Light reading. Apologies.
You hear a slight chuckle come from her. Once you read it enough, it should aid you.
I will honor you, as my aunt has. And I assure you, you will not be forgotten. At least not by me. And Kore, in her mind, is already thinking of a few verses to a new song about a maiden fair with golden hair and a crown of lights upon her brow. I think
love
that
it.
morale.
That gets inspiration.
She's so cute.
Sometimes I forget you're a bard and you're like, I shall write music. Victor would be proud.
Victor would be proud.
And as you kind of say that, she nods. Well, you have those that are waiting for you. I will send you back now. And as she says that, she kind of waves her hand, and your vision goes black for a second. And you open your eyes, and you're sitting back on the seat next to the library, holding a book that's white with gold lacing on around the outside and embroidery. And with that, we're going to switch. Xandra,
Hi.
where did you blip off to? Little dweeb.
Wow. I also like how you say that and you know where I went, seeing as how, it's your game.
I mean, don't call me out like that. Oh my gosh.
So, Xandra, after the meeting with Jargen has sort of gone maybe not exactly how she had hoped, and they haven't gained as much information as she had really aimed to gain, has already been in a bad headspace. And for those of you who are new, if you weren't here last time, she was also seen having lifted her head and was sobbing, was doing a lot of crying right before Orez tried to attack her. and in that moment, teleported out of the space. And she teleports right outside the castle in front of Jargen before he leaves.
So as you kind of blip out and appear right outside the gates, probably a little bit of ways from the door, you appear right in front of this looming figure of Jargen, still in his humanoid form. You can see it wreathed in black mist, and you can tell that he's not surprised that you just appeared in front of him.
Xander will appear and be breathing slightly heavier. Jargen, you cannot leave. Please just wait. I understand that they are a lot. Rash is maybe a good word. But you have to understand, surely you looked inward on all of us, and you can see why we are here. We were... Give me a moment. My apologies. Jargen, I am out of sorts. We came here to see you. We have so many questions for you. I have so many questions for you. Please, you have to listen.
He's kind of staring at you the entire time you're talking, and he does the same thing that he does in his dragon form, where he'll kind of like drop his head a little bit just to hold eye contact. Sandra, I do not deserve these niceties that you're giving me. Lamra is great and powerful. I'm simply fallen.
Lamra is amazing in all of her great power, her wisdom, her kindness, yes. Surely you recognize that I have so much in common with you. I know a thing or two about being cursed. Not trusted. Those party members in there don't entirely trust me. But...
Do you entirely trust them?
They are very young. They know very little.
You are also very young.
A great deal older than them.
And I'm a great deal older than you.
They have no idea the impact. They are concerned with their small corners, their own lives, their own stakes in all of this. They don't understand the implications.
See, that's the thing, Sandra. They are concerned about their lives. Some of them aren't immortal. I see the darkness that follows Ivo. He's been marked not only by a horror, but by death itself. 5 days from now is what the Oracle said, yes?
Yes. It's difficult not to keep count.
You know, a human would roughly live 100 years. If I remember correctly, his kind only lives 25 to 30. He's already in his 20s. For him, his time is running short. He's just found his family again, which I can't track down. It's the only thing he has left. You can't really blame him. And the thing about having years left, or being mortal and waiting for your death, you look at things differently. I look at Auras' kind, and I see me trying to cover up my own mistakes. Ivo said it himself. I was being selfish.
An overstatement, an exaggeration, lack of understanding.
To us, maybe. But I just ruined that child's life.
From one point of view.
From their point of view, which to them is the most important.
They will not survive.
Will
Not with
any of us?
decision making like this. We need your help. That is why we're here. Your sister thought it was a good idea.
I am sealed here. Obviously, she didn't know that, otherwise she wouldn't have sent you. I do not know how to close the seal. The only thing I know is I am continuously taunted by these creatures that are summoned on my island, that I have to close these breaches, otherwise they can walk right through this barrier that I cannot. And I have to watch them go to islands that I cannot reach and harm people that I cannot protect. The worst part is I can't even see them when they show up. If I'm not there, I can't stop them, and when they're here, I have to hunt.
Then we have to get a message to your sister. Have you no way of contacting her?
If I could have, I would have. Haven't you
Then
tried?
I will go. Give me a moment. I will go. Stay here. And I will fetch her for you. Give me a moment, please. Hang on. Wait, that can't be right. That can't be.
Xandra.
Give me a moment. That cannot be right. You are
can't.
stuck here. You are stuck here, not us. She said nothing of... Why can I not teleport to her?
She knew nothing.
She's not even that far away. That is a nothing for me. That is no distance at all.
Why do you think she couldn't take you completely in here?
She said things were getting weaker. I just assumed. I didn't realize. How are we all trapped here? Please tell me not them as well.
I will figure out how to get you out of here.
There has to be a way. There has to be a way. If I cannot teleport, I will build a door. I have to. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And she will rush past Jargen back to the front door of the castle. And she will place both of her hands. I can... And in her mind, she's going over the spells she uses to make her portal doors home over and over again. That... No. It cannot affect this as well. No. No. Okay. Think. I have to think. I cannot get... Why can I not make a portal home? That is different than teleportation. It is a dimensional portal. I have to check on them. I have to get to them. He said... That cannot be. I built that shop with Lamra. It is impossible to find. It is very few people are strong enough to locate what her and I built. That is impossible. And he claimed to have been able to find it. Oh God. She didn't bring us all together. That cannot be. He's never been able to find it before. Her ability to keep it hidden is waning. Jargen, there has to be a way to get out of this island. I have to go see them.
You'll feel a firm but gentle hand rests on your shoulder. He leans down to hold eye contact with you, a couple steps down from where you are to be eye level. Sandra, there is no way off this island until we figure it out. And you're one of the only people with the knowledge and the age and the ability to help me.
How? Tell me. I will do anything to get off and find them. Just what do I have to do?
First, I need to go close this breach, or horrors that you cannot even fathom will flood these plains. A few made it out, and that's why the Shattering is happening again. I couldn't stop them all. That's why Raymond fell. And that's why they're going to Lamra next.
No, they can't reach Lamra.
Why do you think she sent you away?
To fix things, to gain information. We were supposed to find you and ask you questions and figure out what was going on. She wouldn't make me leave her like that. She knows better than that.
Why didn't she call you back? Do you remember?
I thought it would be... Sometimes I can be so self-centered. I get forgetful. I didn't realize it was this bad. I thought she would tell me if it was this bad. Take me with you to help you. We will go and I can help you somehow, some way. I know more about him than almost anyone. Not in this state, mind you, but I know his mind. I dealt with him for too many years. And I refuse to be trapped by him again. I have been free of him for 1,000 years.
Yet he's trapping us all this time. I will see to this breach. You need to go in there and help support them.
Please. Impatient children.
Orez is gone.
Now of all times.
Yes, now of all times.
And what am I supposed to do with this lot? They don't understand the gravity. They are rash. I have fought along real soldiers, heroes. We were organized. We understood what was necessary. They're very lucky that you didn't eat them.
I don't eat people.
Well, they don't know that.
And for the first time, you see him smirk a little bit. You need to help them more now than ever.
They don't even trust me. Look at me.
Why do
Look
you
at my
trust me?
face. I understand you.
I'm a dragon that was turned, barely able to keep my mind. And you throw everything you have into believing me. What if I was on his side?
We would have dealt with that. Or at least been... I attempted to make them respectful. They didn't listen to me. They're not going to listen to me now. Hell, even the poker thinks that I'm too tall. What does that even mean, too tall? Who doesn't trust tall people? I'm on the higher end of average at best.
How do you earn trust? How did Dane gain your trust? How did you gain Dane's trust?
We were always there for one another.
And what are you doing now? They were confused.
Dane and I had a common enemy. We were both trying to escape the same hell.
Who is all of your enemy now? Is it each other? Is your enemy Ores?
I would hope not.
Is it Ivo?
Of course not.
Is it Nimbus?
None of them are.
Oh, right, it's Corey.
Stop it. Corey is nothing but an angel.
So why are you out here? If you have a question, ask.
How do we find Niall? You say that they are appearing on your island. Do you know that he needs to be here?
He doesn't.
Then who?
You kind of see him pause for a second. And you see, as he's holding eye contact, out of his blind left eye, you see one tear start to roll. He opens the breaches here. So I know everyone that I do not kill goes out there and has slowly killed off my remaining siblings.
But he must be located here on the island.
Not with the power he possesses now.
He's on the other side of the breaches.
I don't know where he is. The only thing I get to see is what he allows me to see.
Is that not Niall?
I don't know anymore.
No, the breaches should be nothing more than a door, a floodgate. A floodgate is... It's no different than what I just tried to make out of the door of your house. Doors go both ways.
But if you are more powerful than the other being, you can make it a one-way door for them and a two-way door for yourself.
Have you never tried to go through?
I have tried. The last time I tried, I was met by my father.
I'm sure that went lovely.
Swimmingly.
So Niall doesn't need to be on this island, but they are appearing on this island, being produced by someone who is not on the island either. We can't get through the door. We're trapped. Where are these fishes? Are they in permanent locations or do they change?
They change.
Is there a pattern or is it random?
Random.
Of course. It's like he doesn't want us to get to the other side. Imagine that.
Spooky. I need to go.
Do you have to go alone?
You need rest.
We could all go with you.
And there's the only place I'm quite certain you will be safe.
How often do the fishes open?
Daily now.
How many times a day?
3. This is the 3rd one for today. It'll start tomorrow morning.
Do you predict it to get worse?
Most definitely.
When?
Sooner than later. I don't know. Xandra, I need to go. Or I will not be there when it opens.
Xandra will sort of hang her head and I don't want them getting through if you insist. But just understand that some of us don't think you did such an awful job, given the circumstances.
But most of you do. And he turns and starts walking out.
Xandra will watch Jargen leave and just sort of look up. I swear, if you have found them, I will not rest until I kill you. You will not keep me away from them forever. She'll sort of turn back and face the door. Now into the pot I was afraid of. I have no idea how I'm going to convince them. How do you explain to somebody your height has nothing to do with your trustworthiness? Calm down. Fine. You're only over 1,000 years old, dealing with the most evil you've ever dealt with, dealing with more dimension shattering wars and trauma and unknown horrors. Everything's going to be fine. You just have to get your little ragtag group to actually play along. Could possibly go wrong. She'll teleport back in, but she will be standing on the roof and she will just quietly observe down and check where everybody has gone.
And with that, we shall go on our break. Welcome back, people of the Twitch and all the other things.
The Twitch.
Welcome back to your daily dose of trauma and drama. I'm just going to do a real quick shout out, saying this is what we normally do at halftime. So tomorrow night, we will be running Dimensional Dial of Dr. Diago. And then we got Frontiers of Eberron this Sunday. At least I'm pretty sure. Michael, is it this Sunday? Just double checking. Yes, we got one this Sunday. I got validation from the peeps. And then this coming week, we will also have another game of Legends of the Shattering on Tuesday, Dimensional Dial on Wednesday, Tales of Varden on Friday, which Chris runs. As he would say, you have to show up to see it. He doesn't give any spoilers. Damn it. And then on that Sunday as well, we have another Frontiers of Eberron. So tune in to all of those shows. And without any further ado, back to your trauma and drama. Xandra, as you are kind of at the rooftop and you're kind of looking down and stuff, you can see Nimbus running in between rooms. You see him run back with these bolts and he's putting them in his bag. You see Ivo messing with a door and then goes in for a little bit and comes back out with a bow on his back. You see, Ivo's dead. Sorry to break the news, guys.
He's probably coming back. I think he was having trouble hearing everybody.
Fair enough.
To refresh.
And you probably would have seen Corey kind of walking down the stairs from where you could have assumed the library was, and that's where she went. So as this kind of is happening, you see Corey walking down, you see Nimbus coming out of the forge, you see Ivo coming out of the side room, and they're all kind of at this dark oak table.
Just all there at the same time, just hanging out?
Yeah, they all kind of walk down at the same time. I like that. Knights of the Oak table.
Xandra will
Mind
kind of
immediately.
Xandra will just sort of like observe for a little while, hanging upside down. Like she's just got her feet on the ceiling. She's just hanging straight upside down, looking with her hands crossed. Ours really is gone. That was a lot of heavy news, I suppose. It's clocking the little things that she notices that are different, like, the hell does Nimbus have? The hell does Ivo have? They've already got trinkets. Well, Corey's got a book, that's not surprising.
I was going to say Corey walking down with a white and gold book.
Here goes nothing. And Xandra will teleport again, and this time she will teleport herself down to a chair, and she'll be sitting in the chair with her feet propped up on the table, just leaning back.
So you go.
I hope nobody missed me too much.
What? Miss? Everyone's just appearing, so what's there to miss?
Are you
Oh, is everybody
alright?
else just Who, me, darling? Oh, I've never been better. I just had myself a little conversation with Jargen before he left.
Is he alright?
No,
Either had a
quite
bit
the
of a-
opposite of. He's on his way to close a newly opened crack and to attempt to kill the horrors coming out. He would not wait. But he did explain that we are quite safe in here, he believes.
You're sure?
What have you all been up to in my absence?
Well, and Nimbus will hold up the dagger, and I guess he had found like a piece of flint, and he'll kind of like strike the dagger against this piece of flint to show some sparks, and see the metal flicker for like a little bit, briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one has been crafting a little present for Ores whenever they come back.
That's lovely. I think they will enjoy that very, very much.
Corey, you would also notice that material.
Yeah. You see Cora's eyes sort of light up as she notices how the blade sparks. And she brings out her rapier that she settles on the table. And you'll notice that the metal is similar in that it's black and red, and she recognizes the material. It's alien. You found a chunk of it.
It was left over there by the forge. Very tricky, Zalian.
My aunt forged this one, and she gently, reverently runs her fingers over the blade. Very good if you have fire on hands by magic or by nature means. For auras, did you say?
Well, something, at least. Hopefully to cheer them up.
And they have their pet. It'll be useful. It's a good ore. Strong blade. It's bit my ass a couple of times. And she sort of like has this distant look, very much recalling how when Dana trained her, Keres would just like whack her on one side and whack her on the other. It's sharp. Do be careful.
Nimbus will point over to the forge where you'll see like at least a 5-inch long gash in the side of the forge where the knife had like stuck in there. Yes, quite aware. The blade is very sharp, almost cut the forge in two. There, you see.
No, it will make Auras extremely happy.
Hopefully, they'll get back soon.
Hopefully, I'm sure that they just needed some time. You didn't get a chance to speak to them before they left, did you?
No, they left before this one could even speak.
I see. Something that we'll have to deal with when they return. I clearly have a lot to discuss with Auras. I apologize for my sudden absence. I feared that Jargen was going to leave without really having a chance to gain information about Nile, which I attempted to do.
Yes, disappearing seems to be becoming quite the trend.
I at least will attempt to not do so again.
Or at
I
least if
assure
you do, let us know where you go. I don't want to think of a day where someone disappears and then fails to return, with us having no idea where they went.
Speaking of which, I have some unfortunate news.
Ivo, you kind of came in a minute ago. So whatever you picked up is what Ivo kind of walked into.
Unfortunately, Jargen is not the only one trapped on this island.
Nimbus will drop the dagger that he had been kind of polishing there while she was speaking. You got to be shitting me.
Please say you don't mean what I think you mean.
We cannot, and I say this as plainly as possible, we cannot teleport or I cannot leave this dimension from this location either. Which is something I can do. I don't know if we've actually discussed that. I apologize. I can make teleporting doors back to home, and I can't make those. I attempted to reach Lamra. I cannot teleport to her. Whatever is keeping Jargen here is now keeping us here as well.
I managed to take a little nap, accidentally, and was still able to traverse the dream realm, but that still leaves my physical body here. With
That's
you lot.
something. It's at least potentially
Is it there?
communication.
Possibly. It was very dark. Everything's very dark here. I met a goddess. So that was fun.
You don't get to do that every day.
No, you don't.
Who?
Oh,
Who
Lux.
did you meet?
The Lady of Light.
Oh!
She's
love that.
beautiful. And she'll be with us now.
Well, that's something.
I will say, what once was among the most powerful entities that we knew in this world, their powers appear to have been fading, just as Lamras continues to do. The belief that sustained them has not held as strong as it once did.
I've
I was
only ever,
given Nimbus. Now you go.
I've only ever believed in one goddess, the goddess Yaya, tidebreaker, gatekeeper, goddess of the mountain. Who is this you speak?
I was given one name, Kelma, that Lux said may be able to have some sway, some form of assistance. The goddess of death is hard to be forgotten. So that could be something.
Let me
Cat.
try. Oh, God. Let me try something. And Nimbus will place the dagger down on the table and stand and kind of walk several paces from the table. And he will go into his calm rage state. And the mist will start to fill the room. Not so much so that you can't really see in front of you. And he will try to see if he can pass his or use his do stride ability and teleport around the room. Is he able?
You're saying you want to try to teleport through your fog?
Yes.
You can.
Okay. Then, seeing as how he's successful, he'll let the fog just dissipate.
What does that look like for everybody that's watching?
You'll see like it's almost like just this shadow kind of cloak him, and it kind of just gets bigger and just it coalesces more into an actual fog and just pours off his body and then just rises. Because it's not in combat, so it's just a gentle coalescing.
Ivo, what are you doing right now?
Just listening. Watched Nimbus and go over and work with the fog, trying to deduce something in his own mind. Where's Jargen?
Jargen is out. A new fissure has opened up, and horrors will be coming out soon. He went to intercept them before they reach Lamra. She is apparently next on the hit list.
Well, then what are we doing here?
That is a very good question.
Shall we rest, as Jargon recommended, and then set out towards your family, Ivo?
I don't need to see my family. I think
Ivo, surely you don't mean that.
I truly do. It is not a necessity.
We've come all this way.
You've waited so long.
You said we're stuck here, right?
We are.
Then that's got to be
Unfortunately,
for a reason.
attempted.
And not just somebody cast a spooky spell and now we're here. There's got to be a reason that we're here. Xandra, I owe you an apology.
Ivo, my dear little
And you'll
Puka,
take it.
that is unnecessary.
We spoke too rashly and too early.
No.
We judged too quickly. And words that have been spoken have cut deep and cannot be taken back.
As you say that, Ivo, you almost hear the creaking of a chair. You are correct. Words that you say in rashness can't be taken back. And much like my dear Xandra was saying, you are all trapped here. And you see lounging in Jargen's throne this figure in a black jacket, floor length, legs crossed, and kind of teetering on this chair. I mean, I was the one that sealed you all here to begin with. Jargen was just collateral. I figured you would all be here. And you see him just stand up and kind of like throw his coat back so he can take a stride. Oh, I forgot. I am Niall. Nice to meet you. And you just see this grin, and you see a pointed fang. You've met Xandra, I presume? This is my best student. I mean, that was when she was still on my side. Now she's throwing some sort of temper tantrum. What did you call it again? Rebellion? Don't children do this in their teenage years? And he kind of walks past you all. And it's just looking between you. Ivo, the one with, what, 5 days? 5 days left, yes. That would be it.
Yourself.
You would like that, wouldn't you?
I would, actually.
And he kind of looks at Nimbus. Oh, the cat that thinks he's a tabaxi.
I'll tear you apart.
You can try. And the one thing you all notice, especially
Touch
you,
him, and
Xandra,
you will be torn apart.
in this moment, Xandra, the last time you Chris,
Let me adjust height. Hang on.
It's like, wait a second.
the last time you saw him, Xandra, he looked like a laughing horror.
I'm just waiting for this jerk to quit yapping so I can talk.
And he walks past you, looking over at Kore. Oh, and you found the book I was trying to hide. Well, the book that I was going to give you eventually when you were on my side, but minor details. He stops and turns. Now then, I think your day has come early, Ivo. But not from me. No, I think I'll leave that to your mother, who turned into a laughing horror.
You son of a... Xandra, you tell me and I'll put it right through his blasted heart if he's got one.
Niall, if you could stop chattering for 2 minutes.
Xandra,
It
I'm
gets
going to
old.
show you how fucking serious I am.
Xandra will,
He waves his hand and time stops.
for everyone,
for everyone. And he starts pacing, walks over to Ivo, pushes the arrow over, aiming at Nimbus. You know, there's this funny thing called gods. And, you know, when you're the void itself, you tend to just absorb these things. Wasn't there a goddess of time at one point? Oh, yes, I killed her. Anyway. And he walks straight up in front of Xandra. Which one of these darlings, I believe you call them, do you like the most? Is it little Ivo? Looks down at the bow. I mean, I could just... He releases time for just Ivo, and the arrow goes flying right past Nimbus's face and freezes him again. You know how easy it is to mess with time. You know how fun it is to watch people kill the ones that they love. And he just releases your face, Xandra. You look like you have something to say to me, darling. You're muted.
Sorry, cat's scratching at the door. I have so many things I could say, and so many things I would do, given the opportunity to move.
Oh. Didn't you tell Jargen Corey was an angel? Waves his hand and your face freezes again. I think it's about time I snip her wings. And he steps back and waves his hand, and as he does, you see this blood red energy start pulling from his fingers like whips, and he flicks it. Corey, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw at disadvantage.
$13 at disadvantage. That could have been a dirty 20.
You said 13?
Yes.
As he waves his hand and you see these whips of red energy flick out. Corey, you take 119 damage. And as he flicks his hands, you see, you guys can just move your eyes. And as you look, you see one tendril goes through one shoulder, another one through the other. Two more hit the legs at the knees, two more at the thighs, one right across her torso, and one whips right across her throat. And he just does this, and all the red goes back into his hand. You know where I'm from, we call that blood magic. Xandra, you would know if you would have stayed long enough for me to teach you. Too bad you ran away. And now, I think it's time for you to see what your actions bring. Because I think you're long overdue some consequences. And you see him disappear. And as he does, he snaps and time resumes. And as you look over, you see Corey's body fall apart. You see one of her arms fall off, and you can see the blood running down. You see her other arm fall. Her legs give out in pieces as she hits the ground. You see her torso split in two. And just as she hits the ground, you see her head roll right to your feet, Xandra. Lifeless eyes staring up at you.
Xandra will look down at Corey's face. And the rage
Her eyes were frozen in a glare of quiet rage when she was just glowering at now, before they gloss over.
So he can look like his old self.
Consequences. And you look behind you and he's sitting back on the throne.
Get off of his throne. You do not belong there. Since when can you stop time?
Since I killed the goddess of time.
Since when have you been looking towards the power of gods? Your hunger for power has gotten even to a ridiculous height, even for you. But I hear you still need someone.
Oh no, I don't
Still
need
second
anyone.
best.
As you say that, he stands up and looks at you. And you see the same blood red energy starts seeping out of his fingers. You know, I think it's about time I shut you up for good. And you good, Chris?
Yeah.
Chris is just going to keep sinking is what I expect.
And he throws out his hand.
Sir DM.
Yes, sir.
If you would allow, Ivo seeing Corey's body impact would have rushed over and cast Cure Wounds first thing. Probably not going to work since she's in pieces, but we'll do it nonetheless. And he'll like try to pull her torso back to her legs. Just no. Come on, no. You and Xandra talking, seeing that it's not working. I will use all 3 of my spell slots that I have. Cure wounds. All 3 of them, pump them in. Just trying to do something. Seeing it work or not work, I will also, with the passive perception, if you will allow it, stop me at any time, see that he is pulling it out again. Run up Xandra and using his hind legs shunt himself forward with his short sword out. Not another one!
So as you grab limbs and you start pulling them in and you're casting Cure Wounds, as you connect the shoulder to the torso, you cast it and you see exactly where you casted Cure Wounds starts to turn into ash. You pull the other arm in and the leg, and as you cast Cure Wounds, ash. You try to grab her head and reconnect it to her neck, and as you cast Cure Wounds, slowly turns into ash with the silent rage in her eyes staring back at you.
I love you.
And as you stand up and you run up Xandra and you lunge forward, and you see the whip coming straight for your face, you almost see this shadowy darkness, and it looks like a figure wreathed in shadow is running out of the darkness to your left. And as it impacts, it shields from these red and black whips, and the whips break. and you impact the chest of this figure.
Right before I launch off of Xandra, I'll basically like put one arm behind her neck, make eye contact, and say, "Take care of them," and just jump and just
You will
smash into this person.
right before, as you make eye contact, you'll just see a look of like horror and shock just go across Xandra's face as she knows she has no time to tell you anything.
As you lunge forward, you're making yourself a spear and you're holding out your sword. And you see the sword just impact this black mass in front of you as you collide. Wanderer.
Hold your hand, Ivo. This is not how you go. This battle is far from over. And I have business with this fiend.
Get in
This
line.
figure that stands before you is wearing these black faded robes that the edges of it seem tattered, and the tatter seems to be part of smoke tendrils and shadow and nether. And his eyes have seem to have in the pupils the infinite depths of the universe as they seem to flicker and look back at you. There is just energy, neutral energy, just surrounding them. Maybe a sense of chill that comes and goes as well. But there is no evil, no darkness, just a sense of familiarity and a sense of something that you've always been attached to. And this feels and is connected to all those present. Even Xandra, even though to her it may feel a little more vague. The figure removes his hood and turns over to look at Niall. You have desecrated way too much of this world.
Who are you to decide that exactly?
I am the one that once protected and served death itself. I am the one that honors the cycle of that which comes to be and ceases. I am the one that will not tolerate your blasphemy.
I thought your kind were extinct.
The
Long
rules changed. Forgotten, perhaps. And he lifts his hand as the tendrils of smoke and darkness that are around him begin to form and hover around his hand. And as it does, it begins to form. I may have been forgotten, but I am not done yet. And as he shakes his hand to the side, the smoke, everything becomes a sickle, a reaper sickle. And he just stands looking at Niall. This is a story you will not tear down.
This is my story. Those of you remaining, roll initiative. And send it in the chat if you don't mind.
All right, all right.
And as he looks at you and he says, "This is my story." He takes a step forward and flashes into almost like a mist of bats and appears next to Xandra. Now the question is, who do I take first? And he is going to wave his hand, and you're going to see a black tendrils circle up from the ground, forming this door. And as it opens, he's going to push Xandra into it. And as
DM, if you allow, the tattoo on Nimbus's arm, swirling and interlocking, will pulsate, glow like a faint blue, and it's like solidified tendrils of mist launch out as he attempts to grab Xandra.
Go ahead. Xandra, what's your AC?
12.
Okay.
I'm a warlock and squishy.
Nimbus, go ahead and give me an attack roll. I'm pretty sure that's what that would take. Unless it's like a save.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the grasping tattoos thing is.
Let me see if I can pull up the actual definition. Pulling grasp tattoo must succeed a DC 14 strength saving throw or take 3d6 force damage. Okay.
So you would take damage, Xandra, but you could choose to fail. So he would pull you.
I'm sitting at full HP right now. I'm gonna go ahead and take the whatever damage is gonna come from that.
Okay, Nimbus, go ahead and roll damage.
I would like to stay.
And let me know what you're doing, Xandra.
That's a 12.
Okay. Xandra, take 12 damage as you get grasped by this tattoo and pulled back.
Xandra will sort of fall forward and just sort of look over at Nimbus. Thank you, that was very quick thinking.
Well, don't plan on losing another one today. And he'll look at Niall. Like, your move, Doc.
He kind of looks, and the door stays open for a second, and he waves his hand, and it disappears. And he kind of looks. No, I think I'll wait. I want to see what your group's capable of. Especially you. And he looks directly at the Wanderer.
The Wanderer squares off, looking at them. Then they look over at Cora. You know, you are not the only one touched by the gods. And as he waves his sickle, as it seems as if he's going to attack, what he actually does is he throws it in the direction of Cora's body. The sickle spins, and spins, and as it reaches the area where she is, he puts his hands together and then rips them in the air, and the sickle seems to turn into smoke and explode. And as it explodes, you can see there is a crack in the veil of existence peeking in through the underworld. And from there, he just takes his hands and just focuses his energy, just struggling, the energy of tendrils surrounding his body, as from within the rip of existence, light and an energy seems to begin to form, and the tendrils expand from his body and start to engulf Korra's body as well as it begins to come together, and the energy from the veil starts to come back. He can feel the struggle. You can see his skin seems to also in parts seem to crack and fade for moments and come back as he finally continues to focus the energy on his hands. And as that mote of light is able to be expounded from that veil, he crushes his hands together and the mote drives back through Korra's mouth, and her body is jolted into life with
Take
just
that,
a
DM.
gasp of breath as Korra is basically grasped from the edges of the nether and returned to life.
Corey, as you feel something pulling you, you see a flash of an image in front of you, and it is a woman with a skull on her forehead, and she has 4 horns, and she's holding a scepter with just a very dark colored robe covering. Tell the Wanderer he is forgotten no more. And the vision stops and you're pulled back.
When Korra is brought back as the blood was returning to her body, you would have noticed that while it was originally red when Niall severed her, by the time it returns to her, her veins are glowing gold, and as they creep up to warm her face and it's no longer pale and lifeless, she opens her eyes with a gasp of breath, and they are also glowing with a natural golden light as her 2 wings emerge from her back, and she uses her radiant soul upon her return. And you see these large wings, not of an angel, but of a butterfly, casting a myriad of color as they appear from her back. And she turns to the Wanderer and says, "The goddess of death says you are forgotten no more." And then she returns her gaze to Niall, and he is fixed with just burning anger as if it could pierce right through him.
The Wanderer's expression, you can see there is a surprise, and he just musters a nod, emotional and weak, but his attention is locked back on Niall.
Wanderer, as you lock your gaze back on Niall, you see him watch you bring Corey back from death. And this is the first time any of you have ever seen genuine fear on Niall's face. Kelma. And he kind of looks at the group. Wanderer. And he takes a step back. And he goes to run.
Misty step.
So as he turns...
Xander will also Misty Step.
As he turns and steps, 2 figures Misty Step in front of him. And you see him stumble backwards.
Is this a surprise round, technically?
Technically.
Evo will fire off a shot as soon as he sees him turn and run. He's not letting this guy get away. If you will allow, DM.
What are you shooting with?
Grendier.
Obviously.
As you draw your bow and you pull back the string, you realize you don't have arrows But as you pull back the string, you see as you pull the string back, a little sprout comes out and starts growing. And as it reaches your cheek, you see the roots curl around each other, creating the arrow point. And you hear it in your head. Aim true and speak my name when you fire.
I'm so excited. So you want me to roll an attack then?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
With advantage, because it's
With
surprise attack.
advantage. Oh man, no, that was a 19 plus what's my modifier? Oh, well, that's a 27, and that's a 15 plus.
That's a 27. It's fine.
Felt good.
Plus, yeah, it's higher. It's 27 to hit.
It hits.
Okay, so it's an advantage,
Mhm.
correct? Which means I will be using sneak attack, which is now 2d6.
Rogues
Because I
for the
took-
win.
My third level in rogue, and I chose assassin, which means any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit.
You bastard! I love it! That's why you didn't tell me what you picked.
Okay, so I need 1d8 for the bow damage,
Oh, I fucking love that.
which
Time
is
to blow a
a
hole in the PG.
9, and then 2d6. Oh, it's a crit, so
Yeah?
plus 8
So
on that.
crunchy crits.
Yep. So we're already at 17 without the sneak attack damage. And that's 12 more for crunchy crit sneak attack, plus what I roll, which is another 6. Okay. And I think that's it because I can't use my Colossus Slayer because he's
Total?
not injured yet. Total is 9 plus 6 is 15. That is 35 points of damage.
Roll me a
Yeah,
d12.
boy.
A d12?
Yep.
That's an 8.
So that would be an extra 20 damage. So 55 damage total. And I need you to roll me a percentile dice.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
64.
So as you draw back this arrow and you release it, you see it pierce through the back of Niall, and you know that this is right where his heart would be. And as it stabs through, you can see the roots of the tree expand, and you see them start growing back inside of him, and you see the roots start covering up the side of his shoulder, and you see a tree start to sprout out of his shoulder. And that, my good sir, does an extra 25 damage because of that percentile dice.
So we're at 80 points of
80 points of damage.
Nice.
God.
That's
What
a
did
little
you
pooped
give
out.
me?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I would love to know.
Since this is a surprise round, would Corey be able to reach Niall flying?
Say that one more time. I was reading a DM.
That's okay. Since this is a surprise round, would Corey be able to reach Niall while flying?
Yep.
Just to catch up.
Anybody that wants to reach Niall right now can reach Niall.
Niall
In
is
that
fun.
case,
He's scared
Corey is going
shitless.
Corey is going to fly towards him and come to a stop before him and say, Now, you shouldn't be starting fights you can't finish. It would be rude to leave when we can't. She reaches out to grab his chin, and he needs to make a wisdom saving throw of 16 as she casts Bestow Curse.
Smash.
It's what she's owed.
You said of what?
16.
Dirty 20.
Damn. Ah! Please hold.
Other words, please hold.
Silvery Bobs.
You bastard.
She's angry.
Didn't know Matt was here. Silvery Barbs.
How does it feel, Isaac? How does it feel?
Feel, Isaac.
It's a fucking nat one. Oh!
She casts Bestow Curse, and every time he starts his turn, he needs to make a Wisdom save of 16. Otherwise, he can't do anything. As her magic rushes through her fingertips and sinks down on either side of where his carotid arteries would be, and as it spreads through his body, he feels the searing heat that feels like laden stone by the time it settles inside of him.
You see that he's just staring at you, wide eyes, and he's like, as you're just kind of like holding his swords, and then glances beside you and just looks around. Is that all you're doing?
That's all she's doing.
Okay.
Can't do anything now.
Nimbus is like, I'm up next. Let me go. Let me go.
How far is Nimbus from?
Probably about 20 feet.
20 feet. Would allow Nimbus would like to go into a rage. Same mist pooling around him and dissipating more rapidly, almost like an explosion of mist. And would like to teleport behind Niall. The freshly minted dagger in his hand as he attempts to try and stab Niall in his heart through his back.
Give me an attack. At advantage because it's a surprise attack.
We don't have stats for the dagger yet, but you want
It
to
has
roll?
the stats of a short sword.
Okay.
Unless certain conditions are met, which you actually don't know. Corey knows. You don't know.
Gotcha.
Just to rub that in a little bit. It's the only thing I can do right now.
Mm.
A little salt, a little lemon.
Corey did say use fire. If you can.
Use
That
fire.
is. Oh, why isn't it rolling? Hang on, let me restart that.
No, you're good. It was a nat one, wasn't it?
No, it's just not rolling at all.
Yes, sorry I didn't get a chance to tell you more. I was dead.
I might have to break out the hard dice.
Yeah, so much for being safe in here, right?
I'm just reading the comments. Who hurt you, Isaac? So many people.
That's a 17 to hit.
That'll be the other DMs in the chat, probably.
That's
Accurate.
only 4 damage.
Okay.
But he is aiming to stab him.
Also, Zandra, you have advantage from Silvery Bobs.
Oh, yeah.
Damn.
Okay. Let's
So
go.
Nimbus, you attacked. Do you have anything else?
Wait,
you're a barbarian. Can't you attack twice?
Yeah, I can. Oh, yeah, that's true. I am in an rage. Listen, it's the first time ever playing Barbarian, okay?
No, that's
Hit
fair.
him harder. Hit him harder.
That's a 24 to hit.
Hits.
That's a 6. Stabbing exact same place as before, twisting.
You see, as you stab him and you twist him, you see right where you stabbed, another root comes out and starts going up. Basically, everywhere you've stabbed, more roots are coming out and growing over his body. Xandra, would you like to do anything
Oh, yes.
to this man
Oh,
that has been so kind to you?
Over all these years.
Yeah.
As resurfaced just to give me PTSD attacks. Xandra will, upon seeing everyone rush to catch him, is feeling this sort of rush of hope and this rush of pride, and just has the most wicked smile on her face as she looks at Niall, and she will rush to his face and take her rapier, and she will grab him by the hair and just attempt to slash with 2 sweeps and attempt to chop off his head.
Give it to him.
Oh, I'm gonna give it to him. Let's see. For the first one, it's a 5 to hit, and then my second one is a 16 to hit.
The 5 misses, but you do have
5
advantage
misses.
due to
That's
silvery
what I was
barbs.
going to ask. So can I just roll that one again?
Yes. Oh, technically,
Cool.
you would have advantage for sneak attack too. So
23.
hits.
Okay.
And what was the second roll from before?
16.
Go ahead and roll again because that missed. And you would have advantage on both attacks because sneak attack
20.
hits.
First round of damage, 9.
Okay.
Second round, 4.
Is that all you're doing?
I mean, I attacked with advantage.
Do you have any bonus actions that you can use?
Nothing useful, no.
Okay. So as you do 2 slices across his neck, you see you split open his entire throat. And where blood would normally come out, you see this black ooze starts coming out. Almost like Corey when you killed the laughing horror. Just pulling out. And you hear him through gurgled breaths. You would think this is enough to stop me. Wanderer, you're up.
Okay. The Wanderer listens to this creature and he stares right at him. I know I do not need to stop you. I only need to make sure they live. And being right behind him, lifting his hands, he rushes and just with his open palms just strikes at this at Niall's chest as he places Hex upon him and gives him disadvantage on charisma checks and saving throws before he then puts his hand on his forehead. Do you want to see what the Forgotten went? And I cast Banishment. And he needs to give me a charisma saving throw.
At disadvantage.
At disadvantage. And it needs to be a 19.
It's okay. Because the first one was a natural 20. And the second one was a natural 1.
The dice don't like this guy. Neither do we.
How do you do this, Wanderer?
That's right. Did you read?
As the Wanderer places his hand on his forehead, he just whispers, Goddess of Death, take this offering. And then he just looks at him. Only gods are worthy of granting their might to others. Those who steal it, they will not endure. Not while I linger. And with that, the smoke and tendrils from his body continue to expand. And then they start to swirl around Niall as they then start to become like ropes starting to emerge and sprout from the ground, and they just go full snap into one hand, snap into the other, grab onto the branches that were caused by the arrows, and the darkness and curse that has around his head by Korra, and all of these things that have happened to him that just attaches to them, and then they start pulling down as you can hear voices and whispers that begin to just call and ask and speak. They're not in torment, you just hear them. They're very calm, but there's a lot of them. They're echoing and echoing and echoing, and then these things just continue to pull him down into the ground, even though the ground doesn't seem to be affected at all. It's as if it's just disappearing into this portal, and the tendrils continue to reach as he's about to be fully immersed and taken into another realm.
As you see, like, these hands grab both sides of his face, you see his smile, and you see how toothy it is, and it extends up to his ears, just one big mouthy grin, and you see this black ooze coming out. I'm not done, and I'm not dead. And his hand shoots out, grabbing Kore's face, and you see, almost like pulling light out of Kore, you see this figure of pure light gets yanked out
Is
of
that an
Kore.
action to do whatever he's doing?
We'll do it just for funsies. And he grabs this being of light and yanks her into the black sludge as these hands reach over, grab him, and pull him down in. Kore, in that moment, you feel the absence of hope. As you see Niall get dragged into this abyss. And you and the Wanderer are the only two who noticed what just happened. And you are now out of initiative.
Sandra will, as she watches him sink away, she will just start to scream at the floor. And then she will stand up and whip around to the Wanderer. Where has he gone? He needs to be dead. Dead, not banished. I demand to know where you have sent him.
You see the Wanderer is very drained. His time will come, but today's not that day. Neither it is for any of you. And he turns to Korra. Do not lose hope. They are not entirely gone. You will find their way back to them. And you see him just slowly start to lower himself to just sit on the ground, just grunting. And despite this figure looking like 30s, 40s, there's just something ancient about the energy that he seems to carry right now. He just seems exhausted.
Xandra will take a deep breath. This means that he will be back. The good thing that we learned is that he can indeed be hurt.
And he can be afraid. Did you see the look on his face?
Oh yes, I relished in that. He
Corey
can be
turned.
afraid.
Nimbus would have walked up to the Wanderer and sent him a water skin. Here, drink. You must be exhausted.
Is that for me? Sorry.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The Wanderer looks at it and smiles as he reaches for it. Even after all these years, still feels strange drinking. And he takes a sip. He has learned that the gods are not done. But believe me when I say, the history that was rewritten today is the reason why you still have a chance in the future. He hands the bottle back.
Corey regards the wanderer carefully, and when you spoke to her, she lowered her head in a deep bow. And now she says to you, I know what you are. And I thank you for what you have done. And she extends her arms out to Ivo to sort of hold him close and just brushes his fur and says, thank you too.
Yeah.
You'll notice, now that you're close enough to actually be near her, with the strength and impact and force that you were casting those healing spells, she has small flowers blossoming throughout her clothing and in her hair. You made life up here in the absence of it, even if it didn't bring her back. Thank you. But I'm not leaving you just yet.
Yeah. Wow. As soon as like we were out of combat and a couple conversations had happened, Evo dropped Grendir, ran, leaped off a column, and just into Corey's arms, and just absolutely, just full on, so relieved and so happy, despite the circumstances that we found ourselves in.
You get a face full of night blooming jasmine that's blossoming in her hair.
It's great. Favorite. Gonna kind of turn in your arms to the Wanderer, and it would seem that you appeared at just the right time. Your assistance is much appreciated.
He nods weakly. I came at the time that I needed to come. He looks at Xandra. You are one of the severed ones. One that no longer is bound to the cycle of life and death as it was intended to. However, I see life in you still. Hold on to it. It will serve you well.
Xander will sort of be looking, maybe for the first time to all of you, a little bit shy. And just sort of has been slowly but surely just sort of backing away from Wanderer. I appreciate the sentiment, as I have no doubt that who you serve is not overly fond of me. On principle, of course.
Forgive this one's confusion. Who are you, exactly?
He kind of looks away. Ever since I fell to the mortal realms, I've been called many things. The Soul Herald, I suppose, is what you can call me. Oddly enough, after all this time, I never truly had a name. But there is one less thing to do before my task is done. Cora, hold out your hand.
Which hand would you be referring to out of character, Victor? Is it her normal one, or is it the one that's been blackened by the shadow?
The blackened one.
She brings it to you hesitantly, sort of unravels it from where she was holding Ivor.
You see, he sort of cups it upon his just tendrils seem to just instinctively just manifest around it. Your falling star is still within you. Think of her. Call out her name.
Cora closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and she calls out Lux's name in Celestial.
As you call out the name, you see his other hand begins to reach out in the other direction. It seems like he's just reaching into air, but at one moment, as he's reaching, you suddenly see the hand seemingly disappear, as if he just went through an invisible barrier. And as he is there holding it, you just see as his body jolts for a moment, and it's just an energy, and you feel his hand tensed around the hand that he's holding from you, and he just, goddess, one last request. And he begins to pull that hand back, and you can see there's a struggle. There's moments where his hand seems to yank back in, and his arm almost fully disappears, and he just brings it back. And you can see once again the cracks and crevices around his skin on the sides taking over. His skin grows pale, and finally he yanks the energy from that veil, and in the just quick flurry of motion just brings it upon your hand, and this explosion of light just erupts from that as you are suddenly engulfed, and around you you feel that presence which was ripped away from you by Nile just moments before.
You all kind of feel hope rewash over you in the devastation of what just happened.
Before Cora lets go of your hand, she clasps it with both of her own, and she says, "Find strength, and cast Cure Wounds on you to sort of restore some of the energy you had lost."
As you cast the energy and you feel it flow through you, usually you feel as that energy reaches into your destination, your target. But when you do so, you sense as if the energy just sort of like went through and then sort of dissipated. And it is in that moment when you realize that his hand is beginning to disintegrate. And he just, well, it's a good end as any. If I may, before I go, I would like to be given a name. Would you grant me that?
Please hold.
Is he asking the whole party? Shit. Well, in the Elven tongue, there is a name for someone who watches the stars. Astrius.
Asterix.
Xander will cock her head and be like, awfully traditional.
I like that name. Well, carry on your quest. And remember, nothing is ever gone. Nothing. And he turns around. And looks around the space. It's time for you to continue with your quest. And his hands lift, his arms lift, and as he throws his last energy, you just see him turn into just dust, and the dust spreads, seemingly going up all around you as it begins to impact what seems to be an invisible barrier. Every point of dust turning into a mote of light that then falls down as if it was a rain of glowing motes, and the barrier that has been keeping you here is eliminated, and the wanderer is gone.
He's actually gone. Xander
How-
will
Um,
look to where the wanderer has disappeared. And she'll sort of just longingly watch for something that she's sure she will never have, or due to her nature could never experience so peacefully.
How tall was the wanderer?
5'6".
Please hold. 5 foot
5'9".
6. Okay, 5'9".
5'9".
5'9".
5'9".
9 foot tall.
59 foot tall.
What?
That's a big boy.
Wait, Preston. Wait. 1,000 fet.
1 million fans.
Okay, so 5'9". That's up there. Seeing that dissipation, he kind of stands over by Nimbus. Now there's a tall walker you can trust.
Good.
Too bad I won't
Xander.
see him again.
Xander will just sort of like, just to herself, just have a bit of a grimace, like.
I'll turn to you,
5
Xandra.
minutes.
I never got to finish my apology.
Oh, Ivo, now of all times.
Yes, now of all times.
That might be the only time.
True. Not only did I judge Jargen too quickly, I've judged you far too harshly. You have seen more things than all of us will see in our lifetimes put together. So we should trust you more when it comes to matters that we don't know about. I told you earlier that I don't need to see my family because I trust them. I didn't. Once I found out that they abandoned me and left me for a time, but I thought it better. And they had their reasons, regardless if I agree with them or not. I should still trust them. There's more at stake than my lifetime journey of finding them. There's more at stake than just my life. Like I said before, we're here for a purpose. We should be helping Jargen close the breaches. And I'm sorry. I apologize for being selfish, rash, and acting out of turn, when you know far better than this little puka ever could.
As Ivo's been speaking, Xandra has just been slowly but surely sinking down to her knees. And she just sort of slumps in front of Ivo. It is more of an apology than I ever needed. I too was rash in my leaving, my impatience, my lack of respect for all of you and your youth from my perspective. I will never leave you like that again. You have my word. And we will help Jargen. We will figure out what he needs. And we will be ready for when Niall returns. As I know that that is not just a possibility, but a certainty.
He's going to get close and rest his forehead on yours before he walks back over to Corey and remains next to Corey for the foreseeable future, not leaving more than a foot from her.
Nimbus, while all this was going on, sits down on the dais, pulls out the small little sketchbook that he shares with Torres, starts to draw out the scene a little bit. Right, well, that was a lot of emotion. Better out than in. What can we do to continue to be better? Also, where is Orez after all of this?
As you say that, Ivo, you hear in your head, "Can you pick me up now?"
Oh, I'm so sorry, Corey. I'll be right back. And he goes over and picks it up. I'm so sorry. I just got caught up in the moment a little bit. I won't do that again, I promise.
You see just a little bit of sap weeping down. "It's okay. I did too." And Xandra, as you stand up, you feel the seal over the island vanish. And as it does, your connection with Lemra is gone. And that's where we're ending tonight's session. Thank you all for tuning in to Legends of the Shattering. Tune in next week for